Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Quotes 365. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped reaching out to someone only to notice their behavior shift in the strangest ways? Maybe they go quiet, or maybe they start acting out of character, leaving you wondering what's going on in their mind. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Silence can be one of the most powerful moves you make in a connection. But what happens when you decide to stop talking to them? That's where things get interesting. Today, we're diving into the psychology behind your silence, why it shakes them to their core, and what it reveals about the dynamics of your relationship. When you stop talking, you're doing more than just pulling back. You're creating a ripple effect that forces them to reflect, react, and, eventually, reconsider how they see you. And trust me, their responses will tell you everything you need to know about their feelings, priorities, and even their fears. You see, silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a space that amplifies emotions and creates room for self-reflection. When you stop filling the gaps with constant communication, they're left alone with their thoughts. And those thoughts can be incredibly powerful. Questions start bubbling up in their mind. Why aren't they reaching out? Did I do something wrong? Have they moved on? That uncertainty, folks, can be a game changer. But here's the thing. Stopping communication isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about regaining control over a dynamic that might have started feeling one-sided or unbalanced. When you step back, you're not just giving them space to miss you, you're also giving yourself a chance to reassess the connection and ensure it aligns with your values and goals. Silence, when used with intention, becomes a tool for clarity, not chaos. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but won't they just forget about me if I stop talking? That's a fair concern, but here's the truth. If someone truly values you, your silence won't push them away, it'll draw them closer. Why? Because it forces them to confront what your presence means to them. When you're always available, it's easy for them to take you for granted. But when you step back, they're reminded of what they stand to lose. And that's a feeling they won't ignore for long. Let's bring a bit of Stoic wisdom into the mix. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is exactly what happens when you stop talking. They start imagining scenarios, questioning their actions, and replaying past conversations, all because of the silence you've created. It's like planting a seed in their mind that grows with every unanswered text or unreturned call. And that, folks, is the power of silence. It shifts the focus back to you, making them see your worth in ways they might have overlooked before. But let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's about reclaiming your power and creating a dynamic where both people bring equal effort to the table. When you stop talking, it's not a punishment, it's a pause. It's a moment for both of you to reflect and decide what truly matters. If they value you, they'll respond. If they don't, well, that silence will speak louder than any words ever could. So folks, as we dive deeper into this video, we're going to explore exactly what happens when you stop talking to them, from the initial shock of your silence to the moment they finally reach out. Each stage reveals something critical about their mindset and the connection you share. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. It might just change the way you think about communication forever. Before we get started, if you're enjoying this content and want more insights like these, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more value to you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below if you've ever experienced a shift when you went silent. Let's get started. Number 1. The shock of your silence. Hey folks, Let's talk about what happens the moment you decide to stop talking. It might seem like a simple act, choosing silence over constant communication, but the impact it has on the other person can be profound. The truth is, your silence often creates an immediate sense of shock, a ripple effect that forces them to stop and pay attention in ways they haven't before. Think about it. When you're always available, always reaching out, they become accustomed to your presence. It's human nature to take consistency for granted. But when you go silent, it's as if the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they're left wondering, wait, what just happened? Why aren't they reaching out anymore? This initial shock isn't just confusion, it's a powerful emotional jolt that can leave them unsettled. The first thing they feel is a void. When someone is used to your presence, even if they don't always acknowledge it, your silence creates an undeniable emptiness. They start to notice the absence of your texts, your calls, or your usual check-ins. And here's where the magic happens. They begin to question their own actions and the role they've played in this shift. Did I do something wrong? Did I push them away? What changed? This internal dialogue is the first sign that your silence is working. It's making them reflect. But let's be real. This isn't about manipulation or trying to make someone feel bad. It's about reclaiming your energy and setting boundaries. Sometimes, the best way to make someone appreciate your value is by stepping back and allowing them to experience life without your constant presence. That shock they feel? It's a natural response to realizing that they might have taken you for granted. Here's an interesting psychological twist. Silence forces people to confront their own insecurities. When you stop talking, they're left to fill in the blanks. And more often than not, their mind starts crafting scenarios, some of which might not even be true. They might think, are they upset with me? Have they moved on? Are they happier without me? This mental spiral can be both unsettling and revealing, as it pushes them to evaluate their feelings and the dynamic between you two. Now, you might be wondering, what if they don't notice my silence at all? That's a valid concern, and it's also an answer in itself. If someone doesn't notice, or worse, doesn't care, when you pull back, it speaks volumes about their level of investment in the connection. And while that might sting, it's valuable information. After all, wouldn't you rather know where you truly stand than continue investing energy into someone who isn't equally invested? But here's the key, folks. Your silence isn't about punishing them or playing games. It's about creating space for both of you to reflect and realign. For them, it's a wake-up call. For you, it's a moment to reassess what you want and deserve in this connection. The shock they feel is just the beginning of a deeper process, one that can lead to clarity, growth, and even a stronger relationship if both parties are willing to put in the effort. Let's bring in some Stoic wisdom here. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In this case, your silence isn't just an action, it's an opportunity. It allows you to observe their reaction, reflect on your own needs, and decide how to move forward with clarity and confidence. So folks, let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave someone the space to feel your absence? If you've never tried it, consider this your invitation. Silence, when used with intention, is one of the most powerful tools you have, not just in relationships, but in life. Comment below, silence is my power. Let's affirm the strength that comes from stepping back with purpose. And don't go anywhere. The next part will reveal what happens when they start questioning everything. You won't want to miss it. Number 2. When they start questioning everything. All right, folks, let's dive into what happens after the initial shock of your silence wears off. They start questioning everything. This stage is where the real introspection begins. And trust me, it's fascinating to watch unfold. Your decision to step back has now shifted the dynamic, and their mind can't help but wander into uncharted territory. You see, when someone is used to your constant communication or attention, your absence creates a void they can't ignore. That void doesn't just sit quietly. It starts stirring up questions, doubts, and uncertainties. Suddenly, they're not just thinking about you, they're overthinking everything. What does this silence mean? Have I done something wrong? Are they pulling away for good? Boss, these thoughts aren't just fleeting. They can become an internal dialogue that keeps them second-guessing their actions and intentions. But why does this happen? Let's break it down. Humans are wired to seek meaning in everything. When a familiar pattern, like your consistent communication, suddenly changes, the brain interprets it as a disruption. And what do we do when something feels off? We try to make sense of it. Your silence, while outwardly simple, is like a puzzle they can't immediately solve. And the more they try to decode it, the more invested they become in figuring it out. Here's where it gets interesting. This questioning stage often reveals more about them than it does about you. If they genuinely care, their thoughts will likely center around how to fix the situation or reconnect with you. But if their questioning is rooted in ego, wondering why they're no longer the center of your attention, it can reveal a more self-serving motivation. Either way, their response is a powerful indicator of their true intentions. Now, let's not forget that questioning doesn't just happen in isolation. It often leads to subtle shifts in their behavior. They might start testing the waters with small gestures, a random text, a like on your social media post, or even a casual "how have you been" message. These actions aren't random. They're attempts to gauge your reaction and figure out where they stand. It's like they're sending out feelers, trying to determine if your silence is temporary or a sign of something deeper. But here's the key. Folks, during this stage, you hold the power. Their questions and actions are a response to the boundaries you've set. And while it might be tempting to jump back in and clarify things for them, resist the urge. Let them sit with their thoughts. Let them experience the discomfort of not knowing. Why? Because this process is where growth happens, not just for them, but for you too. Let's bring in some Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This applies perfectly here. Their questioning isn't something you need to control or manage. Your role is to remain steady, focused on your own values and priorities. Let them come to their own conclusions without interference. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. What if their questions lead them to walk away? And that's a fair concern. But here's the thing. If someone chooses to walk away instead of seeking clarity or making an effort, it's a reflection of where they stand in the relationship. And while that might be disappointing, it's also liberating. It frees you from investing energy in someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. On the flip side, if their questioning leads them to realize your value, that's where the magic happens. They start to see you in a new light, not as someone who's always available, but as someone who commands respect and holds their own. This shift in perspective can reignite their interest and deepen the connection in ways you might not have expected. So, folks, let me ask you this. Are you willing to let them sit with their questions, or are you rushing to provide answers? Reflect on how you're navigating this stage, and remember, your silence isn't just a pause, it's a powerful statement. Comment below, "I embrace my power." Let's affirm our commitment to staying strong and letting them do the work of questioning. And stick around, because the next stage is where they start pushing boundaries, and things get even more interesting. Number 3. Testing how far they can go. Hey folks, let's talk about what happens next. The stage where they start testing how far they can go. This part of the process can be as revealing as it is fascinating. When your silence has shaken things up, and their initial questioning doesn't provide the clarity they crave. They often shift gears. They start testing boundaries to see where they stand and, more importantly, to gauge how much power they still have in the dynamic. Why does this happen? Well, humans are naturally driven by curiosity and control. When someone feels like they've lost their grip on a situation or a connection, they'll often push and probe to regain some sense of certainty. Your silence creates a vacuum, and their testing is an attempt to fill it. It's their way of saying, how far can I go before they respond? How much of their attention do I still have? Let me give you a few examples of what this might look like. They could start with subtle moves, a casual text, a comment on your social media, or even a quick, hey, just checking in message. On the surface, these seem harmless, but they're often calculated. They're testing the waters, trying to see if you'll immediately jump back into the dynamic. If you respond too quickly or eagerly, they'll interpret it as a sign that they still hold sway over your emotions. But sometimes, they might push harder. They might try to provoke a reaction by bringing up something they know is a soft spot for you. Or they could deliberately create situations designed to make you break your silence. For example, they might post something attention-grabbing on social media, a photo, a cryptic status update, or even a reference to shared memories. It's all part of the test, an attempt to see how far they can stretch the limits of your silence before you react. Now, you might be wondering, why would someone test boundaries instead of just reaching out honestly? It comes down to vulnerability. A direct conversation requires them to put their feelings on the line, and that can be intimidating. Testing boundaries feels safer because it allows them to gather information without fully exposing themselves. It's a way of maintaining control while still trying to understand where they stand with you. But here's where the power dynamic shifts. If you stay steady and intentional in your silence, you show them that you're not easily swayed by these tests. This doesn't mean ignoring them entirely, but it does mean responding in a way that reinforces your boundaries. For example, if they send a casual text, you don't need to respond immediately or in detail. A short, polite reply, if you choose to reply at all, sends the message that while you're not closed off, you're also not playing into their attempts to regain control. Let's bring in a bit of Stoic wisdom here. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this stage, their testing is an external event. Your reaction to it determines whether you maintain control or hand it back to them. By staying calm and centered, you show that you're in control of your emotions and your choices. This stage also gives you valuable insights into their mindset. Are they testing boundaries out of genuine care and curiosity, or is it driven by ego and a need for control? Their actions during this phase can reveal a lot about how they see the connection, and whether they're willing to put in the effort to rebuild it on healthier terms. So, folks, let me ask you this. When they test your boundaries, are you staying true to yourself, or are you bending to meet their expectations? This stage isn't just about observing their behavior. It's about reinforcing your own sense of worth and control. Comment below, "I stand firm in my boundaries." Let's affirm our commitment to staying strong and intentional as we navigate this stage. And don't miss what's coming next. Things only get more revealing from here. Number 4, searching for answers. Hey folks, Let's talk about the moment when silence shifts from being just a question mark to becoming a full-blown quest for answers. By this stage, your decision to step back has unsettled them. Their initial confusion and boundary testing haven't provided the clarity they hoped for. Now, they're compelled to dig deeper, not just into your actions, but into their own emotions and the dynamics of the relationship. This is the point where they start searching for answers. At this stage, their thoughts often become laser-focused on understanding what went wrong, or, perhaps more accurately, what they think went wrong. Silence has a way of amplifying self-reflection. When you're no longer engaging, they're left with the silence you've created, and that silence forces them to look inward. Why aren't they talking to me? Did I misread the connection? What does this say about me? These aren't easy questions to face, but they're unavoidable when someone is left alone with their thoughts. Their search for answers doesn't always start with introspection, though. For many, the first instinct is to seek external validation or explanations. They might turn to mutual friends, social media, or even past conversations to piece together a narrative. They could be scrolling through old texts, replaying specific interactions, or analyzing every word and gesture for hidden meaning. It's like they've become detectives in their own story, desperate to uncover the truth. Here's the fascinating part. This search often says more about them than it does about you. For some, it's about trying to regain a sense of control. If they can figure out why you've gone silent, they feel they can predict your next move or find a way to re-establish the connection. For others, it's a deeper exploration of their own feelings they might not have fully acknowledged before. Your silence becomes the mirror that forces them to confront what they really want and how they truly feel. But let's not forget the role of ego in all of this. Sometimes, their search for answers isn't driven by care or reflection, but by pride. They might be wondering, why am I not enough to keep them engaged? How dare they pull away from me? This kind of questioning is less about rebuilding the relationship and more about protecting their self-image. And while that can be frustrating, it's also telling. It reveals whether they're looking for answers to improve the connection or just to soothe their own insecurities. This stage is where your strength and boundaries are tested. It can be tempting to step in and provide the clarity they're searching for, especially if you care about them. But remember, folks, this isn't about punishing them or making them suffer. It's about creating space for growth. By allowing them to go through this process, you're giving them the opportunity to reflect on their own actions and decide what they truly want. Let's bring some Stoic wisdom into this. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Your silence is an opportunity for them to figure out who they want to be in this relationship. Are they willing to step up, take responsibility, and make an effort? Or are they content to let things drift apart? Either way, their response provides you with valuable insight. So what should you do while they're searching for answers? Focus on yourself. Continue to build your own sense of worth and fulfillment, independent of their actions. This isn't about ignoring them or playing games. It's about staying grounded and intentional. When they see that you're thriving without their constant engagement, it shifts the power dynamic. Instead of chasing their approval, you're showing them that your value doesn't depend on their validation. Now, folks, let me ask you this. Are you giving them the space to find their answers? Or are you stepping in too soon to provide them? Trust the process and allow the silence to do its work. Their search for answers might lead them to you, or it might reveal something else entirely. Either way, it's a journey they need to take on their own. Before we move on, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more insights like these. And if this resonates with you, drop a comment below. I trust the process. Let's keep building this community together. Stay with us. There's so much more to explore. Number 5. When emotions take control. Hey folks, let's talk about a stage that's both revealing and unpredictable. When emotions take control. By this point, your silence has shifted from creating curiosity to stirring deep emotional responses. Their initial shock, boundary testing, and search for answers have led to something much more powerful. A flood of feelings that they can no longer ignore. And trust me, this stage is where the truth about their priorities, desires, and insecurities comes to light. You see, emotions are the great equalizer. No matter how composed or rational someone might seem on the surface, when feelings take over, it's impossible to hide what's really going on inside. Your silence acts like a mirror, reflecting back to them the emotions they've been trying to suppress or avoid. And in this moment, they're no longer thinking about what's logical. They're feeling the full weight of what your absence means. Let's break it down. For some, this stage starts with frustration. They might feel annoyed or even angry that you're no longer engaging in the way they're used to. This reaction often stems from a sense of entitlement. Why aren't they responding to me? I deserve their attention. But here's the thing. That frustration is a sign that your silence is working. It's forcing them to confront their own emotions instead of relying on you to fill the gaps. As the frustration subsides, it's often replaced by vulnerability. This is when they start to feel the impact of your absence on a deeper level. They might feel sadness, regret, or even fear. Fear of losing you, fear of being misunderstood, fear of what the future holds. These emotions can be overwhelming, and they might not know how to process them. That's why you might see unexpected behaviors during this stage, like impulsive messages, emotional outbursts, or attempts to rekindle the connection in ways that feel rushed or intense. But let's not forget that emotions aren't always negative. This stage can also bring moments of clarity and appreciation. When someone allows themselves to truly feel the impact of your absence, they often gain a new perspective on what you mean to them. They might realize that they've been taking you for granted, or that they value you more than they thought. These realizations can be powerful, but they're only possible because you've given them the space to feel, reflect, and grow. Now, here's where things get tricky. When emotions take control, there's a risk of miscommunication or misunderstandings. They might act out of impulse, saying or doing things they don't fully mean. And if you're not careful, you might interpret these actions in a way that leads to unnecessary conflict. That's why it's so important to stay grounded during this stage. Remember, their emotional reactions are about them, not you. Your role isn't to fix or manage their feelings. It's to remain steady and intentional in how you respond. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes invaluable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Or, their emotional outbursts or vulnerable moments aren't something you can control. What you can control is how you choose to react. By maintaining your composure, you set the tone for healthier communication and boundaries moving forward. But let's be honest, this stage can be challenging. Watching someone struggle with their emotions can stir up your own feelings of compassion, frustration, or even guilt. It's natural to want to step in and make things easier for them. But remember, folks, growth often comes from discomfort. By letting them navigate their emotions on their own, you're giving them the opportunity to truly understand and appreciate the connection. So, let me ask you this. Are you staying grounded while they ride the wave of their emotions? Take a moment to reflect on how you're navigating this stage. Your calm and clarity can make all the difference. Comment below, "I choose calm over chaos." Let's affirm our commitment to staying strong and steady, even when emotions run high. And don't go anywhere. The next stage will reveal why your worth becomes undeniable in their eyes. You don't want to miss it. Number 6, realizing your true value. All right, folks, let's get real about something that changes everything in relationships. Your true value. By this stage, your silence has done its work. It's created a space where they can no longer ignore the void you left behind. And in that space, something powerful happens. They begin to realize your worth in ways they couldn't see before. Why does this realization take time? The answer lies in human nature. People often don't fully appreciate what they have until it's gone, or at least until it's no longer freely available. When you were always there, reaching out, showing care, or making the effort, your value might have blended into the background. But now that you've stepped back, your absence is impossible to ignore, and in its wake, they're left with the question, why did I take them for granted? Now let's break this down. Realizing your value doesn't just happen because you've gone silent. It happens because your silence forces them to reflect on what they're missing. It's not just about the practical things, your messages, your presence, your attention. It's about the emotional connection you provided. They start to see the role you played in their life and how much lighter, happier, or more fulfilled they felt with you around. And when that realization hits, it often comes with a sense of regret. Did I push them away? Did I miss out on something truly special? Here's the kicker. This realization doesn't just make them miss you, it changes how they perceive you. Suddenly, you're not just the person who was always there. You're the person they can't stop thinking about. Your value becomes more than just what you brought to the table. It becomes tied to who you are as a person. Your strength, your independence, your ability to walk away with dignity, these traits become magnetic. They see you as someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to uphold it. But let's not sugarcoat this stage. Realizing your value isn't always a smooth or instant process. For some, it can stir up conflicting emotions. On one hand, they might feel drawn to reconnect with you and make amends. On the other hand, they might feel intimidated by the person you've become. Someone who commands respect and doesn't settle for less. And that's okay. Their response, whether it's admiration or hesitation, tells you everything you need to know about their place in your life. Here's where Stoic wisdom comes into play. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When they realize your value, it's not just about you, it's about the shift in their own mindset. Your silence has sparked a transformation in how they think about you, themselves, and the connection you shared. It's a powerful reminder that your worth isn't determined by their acknowledgement. It's something you carry within you, no matter how they respond. Now, let's talk about you. Folks, while they're realizing your value, are you realizing it too? This stage isn't just about them. It's about you stepping into your own worth. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and emotions are precious, and not everyone deserves them. When you start valuing yourself, it changes the way others see you. Your confidence, self-respect, and boundaries become a beacon, attracting the kind of connection you truly deserve. So, what should you do when they start realizing your value? Stay true to yourself. Don't rush to respond to their newfound appreciation. Instead, let their actions speak louder than their words. If they truly see your worth, they'll show it through effort, respect, and meaningful change. And if they don't, well, that's just further proof that you made the right choice by stepping back. Let me ask you this. Are you standing in your true value, or are you still waiting for someone else to validate it? Reflect on that as you move forward. Your worth isn't up for negotiation, it's a fact. And the more you embrace it, the more others will, too. Comment below, I know my worth. Let's affirm our commitment to valuing ourselves, no matter what. And stay tuned, because the final stage is where everything comes full circle. You don't want to miss it. Number 7, when they finally reach out. All right, folks, we've reached the final stage, when they finally decide to reach out. After the shock, the questions, the emotional roller coaster, and the realizations, they've arrived at a point where they can no longer hold back. Your silence has created the space for them to reflect, and now they're ready to close the gap. But here's the thing, how they reach out and how you respond can determine what happens next. When someone reaches out after a period of silence, it's rarely impulsive. By this stage, they've likely thought long and hard about what they're going to say and how they're going to say it. Their message or call might seem casual on the surface. Hey, how have you been? Or I was just thinking about you. But trust me, it's anything but casual for them. This moment is their attempt to re-establish the connection, and it's often loaded with vulnerability and hope. Now, let's pause for a moment and acknowledge something important. The fact that they're reaching out speaks volumes. It means they've recognized your value, felt your absence, and decided that the connection is worth pursuing again. But that doesn't mean you should rush to respond or let your emotions take over. This is your opportunity to set the tone for how things move forward. So, what should you do when they reach out? Start by observing, not just their words, but their actions. Are they reaching out because they genuinely want to reconnect, or are they looking for validation? Are they willing to put in the effort to rebuild the relationship? Or is this just a way to test the waters? These questions are crucial because their approach will tell you a lot about their intentions. Here's another key point to consider. How you respond sets the stage for the next chapter. If you jump back in too quickly, it might send the message that their previous behavior didn't matter, or that they can take you for granted again. On the other hand, if you respond with clarity and boundaries, you're showing them that you value yourself and expect the same from them. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being clear about your worth and what you expect in return. Let's bring in some Stoic wisdom here. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." When they reach out, it's because they've felt the loss of your presence. Your role is not to fill that void immediately, but to ensure that moving forward, the connection is based on mutual respect and effort. This stage is also a chance for you to reflect on what you want. Do you still see potential in this relationship, or has your perspective changed during the silence? Have their actions shown growth, or are they still operating from the same patterns that led to the disconnect? These are questions only you can answer, and they're crucial for making a decision that aligns with your values. And folks, let's not forget that sometimes them reaching out isn't about reconnecting, it's about closure. In some cases, they might be looking to clear the air or gain a sense of resolution. And that's okay, too. Closure can be a powerful tool for healing and moving forward, whether it's together or apart. So let me ask you this. When they finally reach out, are you ready to respond with clarity and purpose? This moment is your opportunity to shape the future of the connection, whether it's rebuilding it on stronger terms or gracefully letting it go. Take a deep breath, folks, and trust that you've done the work to stand in your power. This is the moment where everything comes full circle, and you have the chance to create something better, either with them or on your own. Whatever happens next, Know that you've grown stronger through this journey, and that strength will guide you forward. Hey folks, thanks for sticking with me through this journey. Remember, your silence isn't just absence. It's a powerful tool that speaks volumes. Whether they reach out or not, what matters most is that you've taken control of your energy and set boundaries that reflect your worth. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more insights like these. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, stay strong, stay intentional, and keep building those stoic relationships. See you soon.